Welcome, the Dweller of the Dark. We are a channel honoring the yellowed and blackened bones of many prominent authors. We will be digging up several obscure, strange, and forgotten authors who influenced many of the great horror, science fiction, and fantasy writers today. Comment below if you like. If you have authors that you'd like to see recognized, list them in the comments or contact our author page. Subscribe for more tales of the horrifying, obscure, strange, and forgotten. We'll have quite a collection climbing out of the tombs. If you like any of our tales, comment, ring the bell, and crush the like button below. Unknown Horror Masters. The Skull and Bones collection has risen from the grave. More beast to be released soon. Find us on Fiverr to raise 7 kinds of hell. Check out our other stories and our websites. YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, Dweller of the Dark. Official website, dwellerofthedark.com. Kindle Vella, new serialized novels and novelette. Weekly new episodes. Check out links below for Where the Wolf Dwells. The Curious Death of Dionysus Shall-Not. Our books and ebooks are on Kindle Amazon. Follow, support us on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, Bandcamp. Dweller of the Dark. Children of Horror. Legion of Ghouls. Tonight, we continue our celebration of Halloween. Each night, we will be presenting tales of the best Halloween horrors ever conjured to terrify, haunt, and delight. And remember, devilishly devoted to horror and Halloween, may your souls always be. Darkness by Lord Byron, published in 1816 for The Prisoner of Chillon. I had a dream, which was not all a dream. The bright sun was extinguished, and the stars did wander darkling in the eternal space. Rayless and pathless in the icy earth, swung blind and blackening in the moonless air. Morn came and went, and came and brought no day, and men forgot their passions in the dread of this their desolation, and all hearts were chilled into a selfish prayer for light. And they did live by watchfires and the thrones, the palaces of crowned kings, the huts, the habitations of all things which dwell, were burnt for beacons. Cities were consumed, and men were gathered round their blazing homes to look once more into each other's face. Happy were those who dwelt within the eye of the volcanoes and their mountain torch. A fearful hope was all the world contained. Forests were set on fire, but hour by hour they fell and faded, and the crackling trunks extinguished with a crash, and all was black. The brows of men, by the despairing light, wore an unearthly aspect, as by fits the flashes fell upon them. Some lay down and hid their eyes and wept, and some did rest their chins upon their clenched hands and smiled, and others hurried to and fro and fed their funeral piles with fuel, and looked up with mad disquietude on the dull sky, the pall of a past world, and then again with curses cast them down upon the dust, and gnashed their teeth and howled. The wild birds shrieked, and terrified did flutter on the ground, and flapped their useless wings. The wildest brutes came tame and tremulous, and vipers crawled and twinned themselves among the multitude. Hissing, but stingless, they were slain for food, and war, which for a moment was no more, did glut himself again. A meal was bought with blood and each sate sullenly apart, gorging himself in gloom. No love was left. All earth was but one thought, and that was death, immediate and inglorious, and the pain of famine fed upon all entrails. Men died, and their bones were tuneless as their flesh. The meager by the meager were devoured. Even dogs assailed their masters, all save one, and he was faithful to a corpse, and kept the birds and beasts and famished men at bay, till hunger clung them, or the dropping dead lured their lank jaws. Himself sought out no food, but with a piteous and perpetual moan, and a quick, desolate cry, licking the hand which answered not with a caress, he died. The crowd was famished by degrees, but two of an enormous city did survive, and they were enemies. They met beside the dying embers of an altar place, where had been heaped a mass of holy things. For an unholy usage, they raked up and shivering scrapped with their cold skeleton hands the feeble ashes, and their feeble breath blew for a little life and made a flame, which was a mockery. Then they lifted up their eyes as it grew lighter, and beheld each other's aspects, saw and shrieked and died. Even of their mutual hideousness they died, unknowing who he was upon whose brow famine had written fiend. The world was void, the populous and the powerful was a lump, seasonless, herbless, treeless, manless, lifeless, a lump of death, a chaos of hard clay. The rivers, lakes, and ocean all stood still, and nothing stirred within their silent depths. Ships sailorless lay rotting on the sea, and their mast fell down piecemeal as they dropped. They slept on the abyss without a surge. The waves were dead. The tides were in their grave. The moon, their mistress, had expired before. The winds were withered in the stagnant air, and the clouds perished. Darkness had no need of aid from them. She was the universe. Halloween by Robertburns, first published in 1786 for the Kilmarnock edition. Upon that night, when fairies light on Cassilis Downan's dance, or Ora the lays in splendid blaze, on sprightly coursers prance, or for Colion the route is ta'en, beneath the moon's pale beams, there up the cove to stray and rove among the rocks and streams, to sport that night. Among the bonny winding banks, where Doon rins, wimpling clear, where Bruce ance ruled the martial ranks, and shook his Carrick spear, some merry, friendly country folks together did convene to burn their nits and paw their stocks and haud their Halloween full blithe that night. The lasses' feet and cleanly neat, mair braw than when they're fine, their faces blithe, full sweetly kithe, hearts leal and warm, and kin. The lads say trig, with robertburns, wheel nodded on their garten. Some Uncle Blake, and some with gobs. Gar lasses hearts gang startin', whiles fast at night. Then first and foremost, through the kale, their stocks, mon abi sought ance. They steek their een, and grape and whale, for muckle ains and straught ains. For Haverel will fell aft the drift, and wandered through the bow kale, and bout for want o better shift. A runt was like a sow tail, say bout that night. Then stalked or crooked, yerd or nane, they roar and cry a throuther. The very wee things toddling rin, with stocks out o'er their shoulder, and give the custocks sweet or sour. With jocklegs they taste them, sign cozily aboon the door. With canny care they've placed them to lie that night. The lasses star free, mang them to power the stalks of corn. But Rab slips out and jinks about behind the muckle thorn. He grippeth Nelly hard and fast, loud skirled are the lasses, but her tactical mace was lost when Kitlin in the force house with him that night. The odd good wives, well hooded nits, are round and round divided, and mony lads and lasses' fates are there that night decided. Some kindle goodly side by side, and burn the gither trimly. Some start a while with saucy pride, and jump out over the chimney, full high that night. Jean slips in, twar with Tinty E. Well, 'twas she wadna tell, but this is Jock, and this is me, she says in to herself. He bleezed over her, and she over him, as they wad never mare part, till poof, he started up the lum, and Jean had Ian a sair heart to seat that night. Poor Willie, with his bowkel runt, was brunt with primsy Mally, and Mally, nae doubt, took the drunt to be compared to Willie. Mal's knit lap out wheat prideful thing, and her ain fit it brunt it, while Willie lap and swore by Jing. 'Twas just the way he wanted to be that night. Nell had the force house in her mind. She pits herself and Rob in, and loving bleeds they sweetly join, till white in ace they're sobbing. Nell's heart was dancing at the view. She whispered Rob to look for it. Rob stolen, prayed her bonny mouth, full cozy in the nook fort, unseen that night. But Marin sat behind their backs, her thoughts on Andrew Bell. She leaves them gashing at their cracks, and slips out by herself. She through the yard, the nearest tax, and to the kiln goes then, and darklings grape it for the box, and in the blue glue throws then, right feared that night. And aye she went, and aye she swat, I wot she made nae jockin, till something held within the pat. Good Lord, but she was quaking. But whether was the Dale himself, or whether 'twas a balkin, or whether it was Andrew Bell, she did not wait on talking to spire that night. Wee Jenny to her granny says, "Will ye go with me, granny? I'll eat the apple at the glass. I get Frey, Uncle Johnny." She puffed her pipe with sick a lot. In wrath she was say vaporin. She noticed Na and Hazel brunt her broad new worsted apron out through that night. "Ye little skilpy limmer's face, I dower you try sick sportin', as seek the foul thief only place for him to spay your fortune. Nate out, but ye may get a sight. Great cause ye hae to fear it, for mony a aim has gotten a fright, and lived and died deleret on sick a night. A hairst afore the Sherimore, I might as wheels yestreen. I was a guilty then, I'm sure. I was not past 15. The simmer had been called and what, and stuff was unco green, and I a rantin' kern we got, and just on Halloween it fell that night. Our stipple rig was Rab McGrahan, a clever, sturdy fellow. His son got Episim with Ween, that lived in Akmakala. He got hemp seed, I minded wheel, and he made Uncle light oat. But mony a day was by himself. He was say sairly frighted that very night. Then up gat fetching Jamie Fleck, and he swore by his conscience that he could saw hemp seed a peck, for it was a but nonsense. The old good man wrought down the pock, and out a handful guide him. Sign bade him slip free, mang the folk, sometime when they ain't seed him, and trite that night. He marches through amang the stacks, though he was something certain, the grape he for a harrow tax, and harls it at his kirpin, and every now and then he says, "Hemp seed, I saw thee, and heard that is to be my lass. Come after me, and draw thee as fast this night." He whistled up Lord Lennox March to keep his courage cheery, although his hair began to arch. He was safe flayed and eerie, till presently he hears a squeak, and then a grain and gruntle. He by his shoulder gave a kick, and tumbled with a wintle out o'er that night. He roared a horrid murder shout in dreadful desperation, and young and old came running out to hear the sad narration. He swore 'twas Hilchin, Jean McGraw, or Grouchy Marin Humphrey. To stop, she trotted through them, and what was it but Grumpy, a steer that night. Meg Fane wad to the barn hate gayin, to win 3 wecks o' Nathan. But for to meet the Dale her lane, she pat but little faith in. She guides the herd a pickle nits and 2 red-cheeked apples to watch while for the barn she sets and hopes to see Tam Kipples that very night. She turns the key with canny throw and o'er the threshold ventures, but first on Sawney guys a car. Sign boldly in she enters. A raton rattled up the wall, and she cried, "Lord, preserve her!" and ran through midden hole and out, and prayed with zeal and fervor full fast that night. They hoyt out Will with sair advice. They hedged him some fine broad aim. It chanced the stack he fathomed thrice was timber propped for throwing. He tacks a swirly, odd moss oak for some black gruesome garland, and loot a winds and drew a stroke till skin and blipes came harling aft's neaves that night. A wanton widow Leezy was, as canty as a kitlin, but ouch, that night amang the shaws she got a fearful settling. She through the winds and by the cairn and o'er the hill gate grievin', where 3 lads' lands met at a burn, to dip her left sark sleeve in, was bent that night. Whilst o'er a linn the burnie plays, as through the glen it wimpled, whilst round a rocky scar it strays, whilst in a while it dimpled, whilst glittered to the nightly rays, with bickering, dancing dazzle, whilst cooked underneath the braes, below the spreading hazel, unseen that night. Among the brackens on the brae, between her and the moon, the dell, or else an outler quay, get up and gay a croon, for Leezy's heart mace lap the hool. Near laugh, rock, height she jumped, but missed a fit, and in the pool, out o'er the lugs she plumped, with a plunge that night. In order, on the clean hearth stain, the luggies 3 are ranged, and every time great care is ta'en to see them duly changed. Odd Uncle John, what wedlock joys, sin Mars year did desire, 'cause he gat the Doon dish twice, he heaved them on the fire in wrath that night. With merry sangs and friendly cracks, I wot they did not weary, and uncle tales and funny jokes. Their sports were cheap and cheery, till buttered sohons with fragrant lunt set out their gabs a steering, signed with a social glass or strunt. They parted aft careering, full blithe that night. Thank you for listening. Have a great night.